The journey has been a difficult one, and we started in the wrong place.
Raj, what on earth is it like to see your product go to space?
Practitioners at clubs are happy to give this product to a £100 million athlete and let them use it unsupervised. Now, they couldn't do that before with BFR products, and that's the big thing now. First teams in the NFL that we sold to were the Buffalo Bills, Washington Commanders, Atlanta Falcons. And the coaches bought the product for their teams. They then utilised it with the athletes and players there. And then they went, yeah, can we get involved? Can we invest? And they'd never done investment before. And that is ridiculous advocacy at the highest level of pro sports. You've got to make a decision. Try at the beginning to work out what kind of company do you want to be, because it actually changes the route you want to grow and where you want to exit. I can either not get up at 5 and not go to the gym, so my health suffers. I can not be there for the kids and they suffer. I can not be there for Hytro and the business suffers. Well, I'm not going to do any of that. So I'm just going to try and do it all as best I can. You'll have no money for a year, right? You'll have no life. You work 24/7. You've got a cushy life, multiple six-figure salary here. Do you want this? Why do you want it?
Raj, it seems like the only place that I can start this conversation is to ask you the question, which I've never got to ask before, so I'm very excited about it. What on earth is it like to see your product ironically leave the Earth and go to space?
That's a good place to start. The honest answer is actually probably not the answer that most people expect. So if I give you the answer firstly from like my co-founder, like Dr. Warren Bradley. So Warren, when he went to space, I remember him filming a video of himself, watching it on the screen, the rocket going up, and you can see the tear in his eye, genuine, like emotional. It was going, I built this, I thought about this product in my bedroom, sewing it like 6 years ago, and now it's going to space. I feel incredible. The honest story for me is I was thinking, yeah, we've been working this for like 7 months, which is an incredibly short amount of time to get product in space, by the way, from first conversation with NASA and SpaceX to actually being on the rocket going up.
In 7 months?
Yeah, 7 months, yeah.
Initial conversation to it's gone?
Yeah, and that is that is unheard of, really. It's just right time, right advocacy, right backing, right product, all came together, right team as well. Like Joe and Warren from our team did a phenomenal job with NASA and SpaceX, making their lives really easy. But the point for me is that as a CEO of the business, it's like I'm always fixated on the problems and the next thing. So I actually found like the day when it was happening, it's like, yeah, that's cool. I mean, it's good, but I've got this problem, I've got this problem, I've got this problem. I've got
to sort out this.
Yeah,
I can't enjoy this spaceship.
Well, actually, it was coming up. It was genuinely true. It was like payroll is coming up.
Oh.
I've got funding to do. I've got this problem to sort out. It's really good. I knew it was happening, obviously, right? If this
watched it on Twitter X.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And
what's the next problem?
It's a little bit of a problem with my mentality in some ways. I'm always thinking about what is the next thing rather than potentially enjoying the moment. My wife always says this to me. It's like, you're always thinking about the next thing, you're planning, you're never like living in the present. But I then talked to other founders about that. And I kind of think it feels like an endemic problem in founders, but it also might be a necessary skill set that you can't necessarily enjoy the moment. You have to think about what's next. It's that classic thing in sport where Alex Ferguson, after United would win, he would then rip up the team and think about the next version. And you have to always be thinking about what's next. And so I enjoyed the moment a little bit, but I was just thinking, like, what do I do next? What about the next space mission? What's happening?
Have they paid their invoice? That's all that Raj cares about.
Yeah, I mean, and it's really interesting, actually, to go into space and work with NASA and SpaceX costs no money at all. From our side, from their side, it's amazingly high quality research in space for the purpose of research. It's a research mission. So it's just great value for everyone, but there's no cost involved at all.
So you sort of watched it, went, oh, that's cool, and then literally carried on with your day.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that what I was trying to do, the team obviously buzzing about it. It's great. So you want to encourage that, and I let Warren sort that bit out. But I'm thinking about, I've got other things to do now. So that's my mentality, which is something I need to change a little bit, because we need to celebrate the wins as a good thing, right?
Do you need to change your mentality though? Or like say, is it a necessary evil? Without getting sort of psychoanalysis over here and this turning into a therapy session.
Yeah.
But you're right, that founder mentality is you have to try and grasp the present moment and enjoy what is the now. Because ultimately, if Dr. Joe Dispenza is to be believed that the present moment is the only thing that we've actually got. But equally, you have got to be looking at the roadmap and you have got to be looking 5 miles down the road ahead of...
I think this is where like Warren and I have a kind of, and Warren's the co-founder of Hytro, right? So we have a really nice dynamic between us. He's like more emotional. He lives more in the present. He's kind of like a little bit more people-centric than I am. So push that a little bit to him. So he that's why he's doing the video. He's crying on TV. he's going like, this is amazing.
You're there with a spreadsheet in the back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Has it gone up? Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
He's like, tick box done. Right, next. Okay, cool.
Tick box.
Oh, yeah.
Tick box went to space. Done.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think the balance is really good for us. So it worked really well. And we've been this journey 6 years, and even I think it was last week, I was speaking to a founder who's trying to exit his co-founder. And it was like, there's so many people have co-founder dynamics. I think typically they say startups fail for two reasons. One, you run out of money, which is the classic one. Or two, you have co-founder issues and it tanks the company over time, right? And so we're very, very lucky that Warren and I have such a strong relationship, and Paul, who's the third co-founder as well.
We're going to talk about the founding team in a minute, because I think how you guys even came together is really interesting. Yeah. But I've listened to lots of podcasts and watched loads of content in the run up to this conversation, obviously. Generally, the ones that I've heard are you having conversation with other people who have got a higher level of understanding of physicality than I do. Okay. So just in case there's anyone who's listening at home like me who doesn't actually know what BFR or blood flow restriction is all about, what is that and what does Hytro actually do?
Okay, so at top line, Hytro.
It's got to be top line, yeah. Let's not go sciencey.
And even I can't get deep in science. That's what Warren's job is as well. So at the top line, Hytro is a human performance company pioneering blood flow restriction wearables. And again, at top line, that our products enable athletes to perform better and recover faster. And the product itself is like garments, so t-shirts and shorts that with inbuilt blood flow restriction technology in its simplest form to make it more accessible. And that means it's a kind of an occlusive strap around the uppermost part of the leg or the arm. So it restricts the blood flow. That causes a load of physiological adaptations, including, for example, increasing muscle protein synthesis, growth hormones, recruitment of type 2 muscle fibers. That means you can get better physiological adaptations, which means you can improve your performance. So there's so much science behind it. BFR has actually been around for about 60 years. Most people have never heard about it. And that's the whole point of Hytro. We've got the first scalable BFR product, and obviously patent that USP as well. And that's why we've grown really quickly in pro sports, because they've known about BFR and used it, but only in limited capacity. We've now unlocked the scientifically proven benefits of BFR for the masses.
Gotcha. Because I heard on another podcast, there's been 10,000 studies, and how well sort of like research this is, 10,000 studies on BFR. There's very few products, or the products that are there are extremely expensive. They are cumbersome. They've got wires. They've got, you have to be a medical practitioner to use them in most instances anyway. So for pro sports, they can't just stick the product on the player and know that it's a wearable technology that they can actually go and use on a day-to-day basis, which is what you guys have pioneered. And whilst it's a tech performance, it's really almost low tech, but super high performance from what I can work out.
That's exactly it. So good research, by the way. Absolutely. Hold on to
USPs. I knew nothing. I was like, I need to understand this just a bit.
That's phenomenal. No, exactly that. We've taken a complicated technology, simplified it, made it usable. We've done the research behind it as well on our own products. So we've published a couple of papers on things like occlusion pressure and stuff like that, which means that practitioners at clubs are happy to give this product to a £100 million athlete and let them use it unsupervised. Now, they couldn't do that before with BFR products, and that's the big thing now. So you can use our product without any supervision. They can go and do it at home. They can do it, in the training facilities, and the coaches are buying themselves time because the player is recovering or doing some training with it or preparing and benefiting from that when the coach can do something else. So it's just, we've unlocked the scale. And absolutely before Hytro, I think when we started, it was like 10,000 research studies. Now there's about 14,000, and we're doing a lot of them as well. Like obviously the stuff we're doing in space is research. We do a lot of research with clubs. So we do research with universities as well. So we're pioneering the science around blood flow restriction as well.
So what Warren created literally in his bedroom with his fiance, from what I can work out, with buying bits of elastic and rings and like these stuff from like fabric shops and stuff, was effectively it's restriction on blood flow in like cuffs and at the tops of shorts. So you're effectively, that's the bit that's been patented, is that technology built into wearable clothing items, which literally restricts the muscles, almost like I guess for people at home, it would be like a blood pressure cuff, but not done to that extent to check the pulse effectively.
Yeah, it's very much like a blood pressure cuff, except it's the whole point of us is that it's so easy to use as well. So it's, as you said, uppermost part of the arm or leg, you can deploy it in a second or two. If you remember, like when you use a blood flow cuff, it takes ages to pump it up and then you have to let it deflate. Like ours is rapid, and that's part of the engineering of the product. So people might have actually seen as well, like bodybuilders have kind of done blood flow restriction before. But they were using like shoelaces or like other things. Yeah, they just tie it around their arm. They
There's
get a
no
massive
science
pump.
there.
Well, I mean, it's effectively the same thing, but done very dangerously.
Super dangerously,
Yeah, like you could put it in the wrong place. You tighten it, include the arterial flow, you're going to cause yourself some damage. And again, that's the point of Hytro. We've made it safe. And bodybuilders are using it for hypertrophy benefits to get bigger because it releases kind of growth hormone and MPS. So therefore, you can help yourself put muscle on. And actually, that was part of the starting point of Hytro. The true story of Hytro, we started as a DTC brand, actually, because we started thinking, this was like almost 7 years ago now, Gymshark are flying, right? If you produce products that look like Gymshark, but actually can make your muscles bigger, like surely everyone would want that. But it doesn't quite work like that because the market didn't really understand BFR.
Yeah.
We couldn't show them any advocacy. It's quite difficult to understand how to use it, and we found it difficult to simplify the message. We couldn't get any cut through. So we were getting trolled on our like Facebook ads and stuff like, you got some straps and t-shirts or shorts? What kind of nonsense is this? So it's like, okay, this isn't working. And that's when we started thinking about pro sport, because that's Warren's background. That's authentic to us. And he was speaking to coaches independently anyway. And they were going, this is fantastic. We've been using BFR for ages and we've never been able to scale it. It's very different to talking to a consumer who's going, what is BFR? Yeah, I don't believe you. I'm not sure it's true. Oh, you're talking about loads of research. I don't care. We've seen stuff about like supplement companies at the moment. Some of them are absolutely flying. I won't name them, but they're flying because the amazing marketing that has been done behind it with very little scientific evidence behind it. And we're not like that. We hate that kind of stuff. Like we really pride ourselves on the scientific credibility of our products. So we do the research. There's research behind it. We do research in space. We do it in clubs. We do it in all sorts of environments to show that our product does what it does. But actually to cut through to the general consumer, it's almost, the research doesn't matter as much as the advocacy. And so there's a logic to kind of our progression as a company and when we go D2C on that. But the journey has been a difficult one, and we started in the wrong place, actually, with the D2C market.
That's my little clip. That's the soundbite for the trailer right there. Thanks for delivering that. Let's talk then about the founding team and how this all came together, because I think it's really interesting. So there's three of you who are the sort of the co-founders of it. Warren was originally in performance science. So he was working at Munster Rugby Club and England Rugby and all these different places as someone who was helping people to perform at their best. And he was looking at BFR, like a lot of the other coaches that I guess that you guys engage with now, were going, well, this is amazing, but how would I scale it up? Or how would I use it? How do I use it for recovery? Or, all these different other benefits that I won't profess to know anything about. So he's doing that. Him and his then girlfriend, now fiance, Claudia, are sort of like knocking this stuff together. She's doing it on a sewing machine. He's buying the stuff. They're working out how to work it out together. And they think that there's something there. Then you and Paul, Paul's been very high end in fancy legal firms. You've done very well in the sort of the consultancy and finance space. Sounds like I've stalked you. I haven't. I've done a little bit of LinkedIn stalking.
Brilliant research.
All for the right reasons. So you guys have come together for the purpose of creating. So you and Paul are going to create a brand which looked like it was high end PT, health, nutrition. Then you stumble across Warren. It should have been easier maybe for me to just ask you how it all came about. That's how I understand it. And it sounds like, so Warren's doing one part of it. You guys are doing a different part of it. You've already come together. Then you discover each other. Then you park what you and Paul were doing to go on the Hytro journey and to take what was only really scalable with pro sports sort of professionals. And you were going to come in and do the business arm of scaling this thing up. Is that kind of it as a synopsis?
So I guess my story very quickly would be, so I spent 15 years in the city, like started at a Big Four accountancy, chartered accountant, very boringly, 15 years management consultancy, banking, and then did the classic thing of like, what am I doing in my life?
What's my purpose?
Absolutely. That. Also, like you get into your kind of mid-30s, and I think that is a classic thing, right? People go like, there's got to be more to this, right? I was there like working on a project for like 30 hours without leaving the office. I'm like, what is the point of this? Like, I don't love it. I don't care about the outcome. I don't think the client really cares about the outcome either. It's just pointless. There's more to life than that. Always loved sport, want to do something in that area. So I left, I just resigned and looking for something in kind of the sporting world to do. That point I met Paul.
Had no inkling as to what it was going to be. Literally just cut it off and was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Let me go and find that. Wow.
I needed to find something else. It was just a complete lack of fulfillment and purpose.
That's brave though, if you've been at something for 15 years, because it comes with the big salary, it comes with all the sort of the niceties of life.
Yes and no.
Easier life.
But yes and no, because at that point I was single. I had no dependents. It's like,
fine, you can just we're even doing it now then with twins.
Oh yeah, talk about that. I mean that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Trust me.
Yeah, I mean, but then it's like, if it doesn't work, I can go back. It's no big deal, right? You lose a bit of money for about a short amount of time, but then you learn a lot anyway. So you trade it off. So I met Paul, and Paul's an amazing career. Like, he's a senior partner at a big international law firm. He's a high-flying M&A lawyer, incredibly smart guy. If you've ever seen the film in Gucci, he's actually the lawyer in that film, right? Because that's kind of level he was as a lawyer. So he's involved in all the Gucci wars and all that. And also, if you see Paul now, he's like 68 and he's absolutely stacked as well. He loves strength training. So that's
is he the stacked one in the photos of the three?
Yeah, he's the stacked one. Yeah, he's the stacked one.
So he was the guy with the shoelaces back in the day.
He would have done,
safe by getting a pump.
Yeah, he would have been. He'd do anything with bigger biceps. So yeah, absolutely. So I joined Paul, and he'd just left the law to kind of follow his passion and found a health, fitness, nutrition coaching business. So I joined him in that, and to be honest, we didn't really know what we were doing, other than like both wanted to do something. We're interested in this area. Let's just do this, see how it goes. And you're right, it was like a high level, kind of very one-to-one bespoke personal training service, but that kind of dumbs it down a little bit. Part of the component of that was nutrition, and Warren was at that time a performance nutritionist in the pro sports world. And I got put in touch through, and this is quite convoluted, but it's my brother's wife's sister's husband is a kidney doctor in Liverpool who'd done some research with a guy called Professor Graham Close. Professor Graham Close is a big deal in the nutrition world, right? So he worked, I think, with like England rugby and many things, and he was Warren's PhD supervisor. So I had a call with Graham and said, this is what we're thinking of doing, we need some help. And he goes, I know who the man is, Warren's your guy. So Warren then started working with us on that company as a nutrition advisor to our clients. And then after about 3 months of working with us, he goes, I've got this idea. Which interestingly, like, Warren had done all this work before, and as you said, he'd be building the product. He'd put all his money, I think he'd borrowed money off his brother to file a patent because he believed in it so much, but he had absolutely no idea what to do with it. So it's like, it's utter belief. It's almost, and we talk about this a lot in Hytro's journey, it's like unreasonable belief in what you're doing, because the whole journey we've had over 7 years, if you didn't have unreasonable belief in what you're doing and where you're going, you would have definitely gone, jack this in and go back to the city. Yeah. But he just believed it. So we started having a look at it, Paul and I, and like, he's a lawyer by background. I'm a accountant by background, like in the city. And we're going, practically, actually, the scalability of this, where it can impact, the science, importantly, is all there. The product makes sense. Let's do this. So we jacked in the other business, went all in on Hytro in 2019, launched the back end of 2020, which is a terrible time to launch a business, obviously. So we made our lives really, really difficult in 2020, 2021. Thankfully, the restrictions came off from 2022, and then we started to fly as a B2B business at that point, because we'd made a pivot in early 2022 to go B2B rather than stay in the DTC world.
So what was the catalyst to going after the B2B rather than a D2C space? Because I think, like you say, you could look at, there was loads of sort of like D2C brands that popped off there, because there was a lot of like home workouts, and there was lots of people who were training that hadn't trained before. Everyone got into running all of a sudden because Boris Johnson would let you go for a run for an hour a day or whatever it was. So there's lots of these companies, but you weren't getting the traction that you wanted, or was it the messaging that wasn't landing with people? What was the catalyst to you going, actually, there's a different route, which from the outside looking in, it's a much harder route. I know DTC is a bit challenging. Let's just go after all of the best sports teams in the world. That makes logical sense.
Well, it makes sense, and it's once you really kind of start to unpack it. But yeah, I get the point from the outside. So DTC, we were getting some cut through, but not enough, and it wasn't progressing as we hoped. And what we realize is because it's that advocacy piece. Like, you have the science all there, you have the product, it all should make sense, but people
don't care.
Yeah, people don't care about it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we don't have like a big marketing budget. We're a startup company trying to bring something new to the market. And as I said at the time, Warren was speaking to a lot of the guys that he knows who are in pro sports, and they were going, "This is phenomenal. Like, we could use this at the clubs." And so we started giving the product to some of the clubs, some of the S&Cs at the clubs, strength and conditioning coaches at the clubs. And they were starting to go, yeah, we can use this for recovery. We can use it in ice baths. We can use it in saunas. We can use it on the bus. We can use it on planes. We can use it for injured players. We can use it so many use cases. And when we started to think about it, and you start to look at also other brands in this space, like Whoop's a good example, authenticating yourself in the most difficult environment provides that unbelievable advocacy that we talked about we didn't have in the DTC world. So now if you've got a product that is utilized by the best athletes on the planet, and we absolutely have the greatest athletes on the planet using Hytro right now. We can't name them because actually we don't have the marketing right, but if you think of the best athletes in the world, they're almost certainly all using Hytro. And you have that level of advocacy and that buy-in at the top level, that will translate to DTC market down the line. And also we could sell there as well. And you can sell in bulk. So we sell bulk to clubs B2B. So there's good revenue generation. We're starting to understand a bit more about product development as well, because we get feedback from coaches. We're improving the product. They're pointing us in terms of areas of research we could do. And then we're doing the research sometimes with them. So like Man City's a partner as well at the moment. We're doing research with them to progress our understanding in many different areas, particularly female physiology and the impact we can have as BFR on that. So it's a great area for us to test the product, develop as a company, learn, generate revenue, build advocacy credibility, authenticate it, show performance stories, and then move to the D2C market. It's almost like a flow of influence. And what happens off that already, so you do that in pro sports, and then because people are seeing what's happening in pro sports, NASA and SpaceX comes to the table. Military comes to the table. So we start to have a knock-on impact quite quickly. Like the whole point with NASA and SpaceX is they saw the credibility from pro sports, because everybody looks to pro sports for that. And that accelerated the conversations. We got in front of like NASA, and then they said, okay, SpaceX has got this program, we'll support you for it. And then it moves fast. So if I was doing it all over again, I wouldn't have even bothered testing it with the D2C market. I'd just gone straight to pro sports. And like Whoop is that classic example. High Price is another. So I think High Price started with Kobe Bryant sitting on the side of an NBA game using their very simple calf sleeve with a bit of ice in it. And then they went all the way through to the D2C market. And that's kind of the future of Hytro as well. It'll be that progression from pro sports through other verticals to get scale through D2C.
How do you sort of correlate in your mind that the way to do this is to get the advocacy and the authentication from, like, say, some of the best athletes on the planet, playing for some of the best clubs on the planet, but then you're juxtaposed with the challenge of such and such is using it, can't say it. Are you just hoping that one day they come off the bus and, when they're walking in, they've got their Beats by Dre headphones on, and they, like, the Hytro sleeve pops out of the shirt? Like, I told you he's wearing it. It's public domain knowledge now.
Well, yeah, because you can actually, so that's already happened. So there've been like nowadays, a lot of clubs do like inside training. So not trading, inside training. And so the videos are there. So recently, actually, Chelsea, Arsenal, Everton, and there's a few others I can't remember, but those three, Chelsea, Arsenal, Everton, videos of Hytro in use have been in their inside trading videos. So then we can point to that because that's publicly available material. Right. So there was a video of Kai Havertz using our product. There's a video of like Enzo Fernandez at Chelsea using the product, and there's a video of Jack Grealish using our product. It's there for everyone to see, and it's not on our channels, which is better for us as well. Yeah. It's authentic use of the product in the club environment. And so now we can point to that. We can say, here's that. But ultimately, also, one of the things that's great about Hytro is we have over now 100 pro sport coaches and athletes invested in Hytro. So we have people like Jurrien Timber, who plays for Arsenal, who's invested in Hytro. So we can now go above the line with Jurrien Timber. So that enables us to point to actual athletes that we can talk about and storytell. Cam Norrie, the British tennis player, he's an investor in Hytro as well. So again, we now obviously have rights to talk about those athletes, and that will increase over time. We're still not yet D2C, that's coming down the line, but we will build more of that athlete advocacy. We have huge amounts of coaches involved as well, which is incredible. And that really is the backbone of our community. And that enables us to get unbelievable access that other people can't get.
With the, because I've heard you talking on a there's a brilliant sport of business podcast that you did recently. It was recorded or put out in December. And it was really good because it dived into actually the business models of how sports clubs work. So the coach investor sort of model, or the player investor model, talk me through that. Did that, again, was that sort of you stumbled across it? And because I mean, that, as in terms of advocacy, someone going, oh, I really like this, that's one level. Someone going online and going, hey, I'm using this thing, I think it's really good, that's another level. Someone actually putting their hand in their pocket going, I believe in it this much, that's unbelievable advocacy. Did it almost accidentally happen, or was it very tactically?
James, we get a theme here of us stumbling upon things, right?
It's tactical stumbling. You're the tactical stumbler.
It's all strategic, right? We thought it all through beforehand.
All within the roadmap. Sure.
We talk about this internally a lot, actually, where things we've stumbled upon almost just fitted in, seems. It's really strange how you look back on it. But just on the coach's point, we did stumble upon it, because what happened was we would go and speak to coaches about it, and they'd go about Hytro and our product, and they'd go, oh, I wish I'd thought of this first thing. And then they go, okay, we'll get one.
So simple.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a really simple idea. So I wish I'd thought of it. Then they buy it for the clubs. And a great example actually is in the NFL. So the first teams in the NFL that we sold to were the Buffalo Bills, Washington Commanders, Atlanta Falcons. And the coaches bought the product for their teams. They then utilized it with the athletes and players there. And then they went, can we get involved? Can we invest? And they'd never done investment before, but they just wanted to invest because they believed in it so much. And that is ridiculous advocacy at the highest level of pro sports with the coaches, because they are the gatekeepers to products, right? And we have that across many, many different sports. We have Formula One performance coaches, we have NFL coaches, we have college coaches, we have Premier League coaches, we have coaches in Australia and so on. And that coaching world is actually quite small. And so therefore coach speaks to another coach and they're going, have you heard about Hytro? And that's helped us grow in pro sports. I get a lot of startup founders coming to me now going, how did you manage to do this in pro sports? And well, really it's down to Warren, right? It's not down to me. Warren's an amazing guy. His passion for what we do in Hytro is so infectious. And he loves being around coaches and speaking their language and being with them. You put him in a room full of coaches, he's unbelievable. You go around networking, speak to everyone. Everyone will walk out knowing exactly what Hytro does if they don't know already. And his networking pro sports coaches is just amplified, right? It's ridiculous. A lot of it's come out of Liverpool John Moores University. There's a cohort of PhDs that Warren was part of. They've gone on to phenomenal things. Half of them have founded their own businesses, like the guys from Hexus, David and Sam Impey. Some of them have gone on to become Formula One performance coaches like John Noonan and others. And it's they're in such brilliant positions that they all help each other as well. That community has really been phenomenal for us. And so most coaches in the world know us, and it's down to Warren and his personality and what he's brought to Hytro.
So with the coaches or the players sort of investing, then instead of doing it in because you've tactically stumbled into lots of great opportunities because the product is so good and because the use case is so good. So did you sort of look because you do things in an alternative way? Did you look at sort of this investment as an alternative way instead of going let's do friends and family, Series A, Series B, Series C? Let's just always be open to putting investors on the books effectively. Is that the model that you guys initially had?
I think so. We've done multiple funding rounds now. We're kind of at the end of us, so we're just closing our seed round at the moment, and we'll do Series A in 2027,
right?
And we are now VC backed, but we've even now, as we're VC backed and closing the seed round, we're trying to keep space for coaches,
right?
Because we want them involved.
Of course,
it's great for us. So over the evolution of Hytro, and actually if you think about the kind of economic environment, it's been a terrible time for a startup based in hardware to try and raise. If you're not an AI SaaS company selling vegan sausages, I don't know how that would work, but you get
the
VCs.
AI vegan sausage market is massive.
Exactly,
right now.
The VCs are going, I don't care what it is. Here's money. I've seen some absolute nonsense that VCs are investing in, but we're a hardware company, and we're obviously the scale comes in DTC, and we haven't got the proof point yet in DTC. We've got all the traction in B2B. We've got incredible things like NASA and SpaceX. We've got we work with Whoop as well. We've gone over to Boston. We do phenomenal things, but VCs, they want to take the risk out, and it's quite hard if they're not a progressive VC, which a lot of the UK ones perhaps may be, may not be. So what we found actually is the people who understand and get it the best would always be the coaches, because they understand the product, they understand what the potential could be, they utilize it as well. So, and we want them as part of our community. So we absolutely kind of went for that market and said, okay, let's keep opening up for coaches and get more involved, because it's just great for us. It's a community that wants us to do well. They're actually like the people who are going to be recommending it to other coaches. So it's just a phenomenal self-fulfilling model, really.
Nice. With that, and with the sort of the advent of bringing on maybe more structured VC, how far in the roadmap do you just stay B2B and just go, well, you've done American football, you've done MLB, you've done NFL, you've done NBA, you've done Premier League, you've done Formula One. Like, do you sort of go, well, actually, let's go every sport in every vertical in every country? Because, for example, the cricket market in America would be absolutely minuscule, but you take that to Asia, and it's absolutely enormous. Are you sort of thinking of it, how far can we take it B2B and then we spin it off as D2C? Or is there sort of like VC pressure now, like, come on, guys, I get the coach thing and it's great. And it's great that you've got so many good badges on the website, but we need to go now.
Yeah. So our VCs actually, they work with us very well. So we're very happy with our VC partner, which is Linz Capital. Really, really great guys there. And they're not pressurizing us to do anything, because they understand, as we do, there's a sequence to this and a flow that you almost don't want to push too early. And you do run it in parallel. So we are preparing for the D2C market now, but we're not entering it yet. And so we have a timeline of when we think we'll enter. But you have to build it up. So we understand how to sell B2B pro sports now, and that will take us to a point. But obviously that is not VC backed. That you can't, a VC wouldn't back you on just the pro sport market because it's not big enough.
Yeah.
But there's natural other markets that we're looking at the moment. So the physical therapy market, the rehab market, we fit into that. The performance center market, we fit into that. And they're B2B2C plays. So we're already working in those. What we're trying to do with the D2C market now is really understand how Hytro fits in and where it fits in the best, and what we're looking at which sports. So we understand it now as we think the endurance athlete is our market to start with. So we're working with Tour de France cycling team, Soudal and Tudor, to go, okay, so what's the research around what areas you want to utilize Hytro in? We'll do the research, prove the benefits, show how a Tour de France team is using it, ideally show how they're winning stage of the Tour de France with Hytro, and then we'll go to the D2C market. So you want that in the bag first, story tell it in a relevant way to the target D2C market. And it will be really clear with messaging, because we don't want to have the complicated conversations we do with pro sports coaches, because then we can get into a level of science. But the DTC market is quicker, it's more transactional. They need to know what it is. They want to see their favorite athlete or team winning with your product, saying it's down to your product, and knowing or telling you how to use it really simply. So it's a sequence of how we do it.
Yeah, because I saw a sort of a press clipping where you'd said that. You said it was not a no to D2C, it's just not right now.
Yeah.
And that everything is sequence and timing. I thought that's really interesting, because the other thing on the flip side of it, people might listen to this who've got a D2C brand and go, oh, actually, yeah, we should go after the pro sports thing. But the leverage that you had with Warren, actually being a practitioner of his craft in that field for as long as he was, coming from that university with that alumni group that have gone off to sort of do all those kind of different top level things, that's really what's enabled you to grow into that space, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a cautionary tale though, because I was literally speaking to a founder of another company yesterday about this, and they were going, okay, so we'll stay in pro sports for a while and then we'll move to DC. And actually for them, it didn't make any sense, because pro sports is quite a difficult market to sell to, particularly if you're not a coach and you're not a practitioner. And they were a nutrition brand and they didn't have a nutritionist on board. And they have a good product, but actually all they would want is some pro sports teams they could point to, sort of marketing rights, to then go D2C quicker.
Yeah.
So it's not right for everyone. We have a superpower with Warren, and that can't be replicated. And there's not many Warrens in the world, if any, right? And so you can't just take what we've done. And I have to say this to many founders, you can't just take what we've done and say it's going to work for your business.
Yeah, sure.
Pro sports is a difficult environment to sell to. Cycles are a little bit more unpredictable. Repeatability of sales is also, again, a little bit unpredictable. You have to understand when the buying windows are. You understand how the messaging. You have to understand which conferences to be in, and so on. And you have to understand what you really want from the pro sports world. We've actually been able to generate good revenue from there, and it's building now. So that's great for us. I don't think every company should necessarily start and really look to penetrate pro sports. It might be do it a bit so you get the advocacy, but then leverage it and go DTC quicker.
So when you guys are looking at that roadmap, is it a level of advocacy that you're looking for? Is it enough of the science-backed stuff that you can prove it? Is it enough of the vicarious coverage that you're getting because like Everton or Grealish is in recovery right now and he's putting it all over his socials and your product's in the background of the photos? Or is it sort of a timeline or cash reserve? What are you guys looking at to hit the DTC market?
It's a combination of many things. It's also product development. So we've got a product that works really well in the pro sports environment, but we think we need to tweak it slightly for the DTC market.
Oh, okay.
And actually maybe have different products for different elements of the DTC market. Then there's also what else does a D2C consumer expect? So we actually think that they want to have a level of data as well. So one of the reasons why, again, it's almost like serendipitous. We went to Whoop last year at Whoop's request to do some testing on how our product impacts their data. And so, we could see this and we could see that straight away. And we were going to do more studies with Whoop as well. But the D2C consumer, the endurance athlete consumer, they care about their data. So we have to know how we can integrate with that. At the moment, we're a simple hardware product, but actually we need, before we go to the consumer market, one of the things they'll expect is like, how do I track the output of this?
Yeah.
Rather than just a pro sports coach telling the athlete what to do
and seeing
exactly.
Sure.
Or and other metrics, they like force plates and other things that they have to test. We'd have to show the D2C consumer that. So we've got kind of a train of work on that at the moment. So there's product development, there's software aspects to it, there's a timing in terms of the sports that we're going into. We want to have the research done as well. Incredibly important to us. We will not be a company that sells something which isn't evidence-backed, right? We don't want to be like that. I absolutely detest that in the market at the moment. So for me, it's all needs to ladder up. And then absolutely right in terms of funding as well. To go D2C requires a big marketing spend. So we'll do it post Series A. So before Series A, we want to have scalable metrics, prove the messaging, how we're going to do it, show that we can do it. Then it's more attractive to Series A investors to go, we can show you if you pour money in here, here's the revenue growth. So it's a combination of many different things, timing, advocacy, product, and all of it that comes together in that plan. So I think, hopefully thought it through. But, we'll see what happens.
If not the right thing, will you just stumble across the right thing?
Exactly,
you guys do.
We've got a track record of stumbling across the right thing. That's what investors love to see that. Yeah.
Let's pause there because this is such a useful lesson for anybody that's building a business. A lot of founders assume that the obvious route is the easiest one. D2C sounds simple, right? Set up a website, run some ads, sell to some customers, build a brand online. Done. But what Raj is showing here is that the most obvious business model is not always the one with the least resistance. On paper, direct to consumer looks logical for Hytro. It's a wearable product, it's got a clear performance angle, it sits in the fitness space, it's super popular. So naturally you'd think sell it to the masses, but in reality, that route was actually going to be harder. This is not the first time that we've heard this on Building the Brand either. If you remember Rory from Reflow a few episodes ago, he had exactly the same realization. Going via pro sports was actually going to be a quicker route to market than D2C, not what you might expect. So why was pro sports a faster growth model than generalized consumers? Well, because the market didn't actually understand the category. Yes, it's simple to use and yes, it's in fitness, but ultimately that was it. The science on this was strong, but consumers don't have the context to understand that. So that makes the messaging a lot harder. Therefore, trust would be lower. And the level of education required to make consumers understand this stuff is going to be huge. Meanwhile, pro sports might look harder from the outside. It's more niche, it's more relationship-led, it's more difficult to access. There's longer sales cycles, it's a smaller market. But for them, it flowed better. Because as Raj mentioned, his co-founder Warren already spoke that language. Coaches already understood the problem that the product solved ultimately. And that was a real pain point. And the credibility that the product had landed instantly. That's a key lesson. Don't just choose a model that looks like it's the easiest thing from 10,000 feet. Choose one that fits the actual strengths of your product, appeals to the market, and will actually build trust around the product. Because sometimes the route that looks smaller is the route that unlocks everything else. For Hytro, pro sport wasn't and isn't still the end goal, but it's the proving ground. And what a credible proving ground it is. It's a place where they could generate revenue, refine the product, build trust, create advocacy, and earn the right to go to a broader market later and further down the line. It's also going to be the thing that cash flows the ability to do that stuff as well. And I think there's a really smart distinction here. Not every business should copy that route. Raj even says that, but every founder should understand the principle. Go where the product makes the most sense first. Go where the belief is easiest to establish, and go where your unfair advantage actually matters and makes a difference. Now, let's get back to it. With regards to sort of the very, very niche vertical that you're in pro sports as the sort of the opening sort of gambit to what you guys did, and then obviously things like NASA and SpaceX. I mean, I can't believe I'm just like, SpaceX comes along, NASA comes along, but thinking of that way, there must be so many other verticals that have come to you and gone, we can see the value in what you do, like the military, for example, for like recovery or for training, or for, for people when they're abroad and they maybe can't train the way that they normally would, or if they're out on active duty or whatever. How do you guys as a founding team go, that's a great, SpaceX, NASA, 7 months from conversation to going live, we should do that. Whereas maybe a recovery for military personnel, you're like, that's too big a jump for us. How do you look at opportunities and say no to the things that aren't opportunities? They're shiny objects that are going to derail you.
Yeah, so it's a really good question. Firstly, the NASA SpaceX is a great example of this, right? So when we had the conversation, obviously we didn't know it was going to be 7 months to get in. We had no idea of where it was going to go. We just had a guy called Cody Burkhart, who was chief of the human works in NASA, support us with an application to SpaceX. And then we were like, okay, don't know what's going to happen. And then we went over to Houston in kind of the April of, 2024, again to something called, it's called the TIM, which is like an event at the Space Center in Houston where a lot of companies like us present. And we went to saw SpaceX then. And it was just a punt. Right, it's like there's an opportunity here. We're not quite sure where it's going to lead to. We believe in Cody because he's got an influential position. We're going to take that punt and see where it goes. And also, I trust my team, so I know if I put Joe and Warren from our team in the right situation, they can deliver. Right. And so it was like, okay, trust your team. Go over there. We're not sure what's going to happen. It's not going to cost a huge amount. It's like a few £1,000s to go over and do this event and go to see SpaceX. And then it just snowballed from there. And it's like, okay, cool, it's going somewhere. Let's put more effort into it and let's try and land it. We get opportunities all the time because I guess people are starting to see us now and they contact us and go, oh, do you want to do this, that, and the other? And historically, we've been really poor at going no. And now we're getting really clear on it. So we've got kind of like, one of the things that changes, I guess, from being kind of startup to maybe a scale up, if you want to put those terms on it, is you start planning longer. And if you plan longer, then you go, these are things we want to achieve. And if the opportunity comes in, it doesn't land up to that, then why are you thinking about it or doing it at all? So military is on our roadmap now. And so we have started selling to the military because it was such a clear, like you talked about, the use cases are phenomenal. And they've started, like, I can't name obviously which countries are selling or we're selling to, but the obvious ones are using the product and they're finding it's really beneficial and it's starting to escalate. And that could be a big B2B place for us. But we've got to be careful. Like, a lot of people talk to us about like Hyrox because that's obviously like booming at the moment. And down the line, Hyrox would be a great opportunity for us. But their consumers not ready for Hytro.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's lots of complications. For example, like one of the things that Hyrox athletes like do is take the clothes off.
Yeah.
So we're a t-shirt with it in. Like, we don't really take it off. Doesn't make any sense. So maybe
it's got to be Hytro pants.
Yeah, maybe.
Unless they do naked Hytro, you're safe there.
Yeah. So you've got to think about where the opportunities are, how it ladders up. That saying no is becoming increasingly important in what we do. So we're now relatively clear on kind of what we need to do for the next few years to get to Series A. If it doesn't ladder up to that, don't do it, or really consider like why it should change the objectives you've got. And that's part of this process. When you're a startup, you're almost clutching at everything, right?
Of course you are.
Any opportunity comes, you go, oh, I better do that, better do that. And I see that in other founders, right?
Yeah.
They take everything that's coming and you have no idea of their like strategic plan or what they're doing.
Yeah.
And again, I was speaking to some founders yesterday, and I love speaking to founders early in the journey simply because I've been doing this for 7 years and I've learned so much, and I can see how naive I was at the beginning, and I can see exactly the same replicated in founders right now. And I was speaking to them, like, you've got to make a decision. Try at the beginning to work out what kind of company do you want to be. Do you want to be a VC-backed company? Do you want to have a kind of a lifestyle business? Because it actually changes the route you want to grow and where you want to exit. Like, do you want to have a business you can exit in 2 years to a VC-backed business becomes like $1 billion? It's completely different. And the sooner you get clarity on what you want, the easier then strategically is to like move in the right way. And they've got a great product, but they haven't got the clarity in what they want to do yet, and that causes a lot of problems. And then you'll end up wasting a lot of time and resources.
Yeah, you're so right. And people who are listening to this will. And you wouldn't have listened to that advice 7 years ago, because like I say, you're clutching at the straws, and that could be an opportunity, and that could be an opportunity. But there is absolutely a golden nugget within that of getting real clarity, and not like start with why clarity on what your life's purpose, although that is part of it as well. But being really clear on where are you going, and so that only something huge will knock you off that North Star mission. Because like I say, maybe if military wasn't on there, but you had enough knocks on the door like, hello, we want to buy your stuff. You go, okay, we're getting a lot of, this is the size of this market, but it's still B2B. So we're not in the DTC space. They want it as is. We don't have to make, a huge differences in software and build out all this stuff. That makes sense, but it's got to be huge to knock you off the roadmap that you're on.
So just do less and do it better is kind of the main thing.
Yeah, right? And I think also with the, you saying no's becoming more important, I think that's also a sign of success, because the more things that you have to say no to is a sign that the things you're currently doing is working really well. Whereas, like I say, if you're all the time having a meeting about this, a meeting about that, you're running all over town about, this is an opportunity, that's an opportunity. You're probably trying to make opportunity or manufacture an opportunity rather than organically letting one be created, which can sound a little bit airy-fairy, but I think that does come from genuine success. How big are you guys as a team at the moment?
We're still small. We've got 7 full-time members of staff, and then we use...
Is that it?
Yeah, but then we use a lot of fractional stuff. We have probably another 6 or 7 that is fractional, and we've utilized a fractional model since inception. We find that works really well, to be honest.
Nice.
Yeah, we're still small.
Was that from I'm staggered by that. I was thinking it was going to be 10 times that.
No.
The fractional model, was that something that you'd seen work in different places, or when you were sort of doing consultancy stuff, were you sort of like fractionally dropped into support?
I think the fractional model is really taken off in the last 5 years, particularly for startups. It works so well because you get, I think it's a combination of people coming out of industry going, I've got this expertise and actually I don't want a full-time job. I want to work in a few different things. From a startup perspective, you get high-level expertise, but you can't sustain the full-time costs. So it works really well. So we've got fractional models, we did have like a fractional CFO. We have a fractional CMO, so Chief Marketing Officer, and so on. And it just gives us that expertise in the area that we need to move us forward where we couldn't otherwise have. But I think longer term, and this will probably sustain us to maybe Series A, and then from that point we'll have to go full time all in because we'll need it. Yeah, so it has a shelf life. I think fractional.
The money coming in is going to want to see those expertise in house as well, aren't they? Realistically,
absolutely.
Biggest shift, you mentioned it earlier, and you sort of literally took the words off the page. Going from a startup to a scale up. For you personally, obviously you can't speak for other co-founders, but for you personally, what's been the biggest, scariest, most exciting sort of challenges or shift in mentality that you have to make when you go from startup to scale up? And when the river starts running with you and you're like, we've got something here, we've got to go quick because the opportunity is here and now. What's that biggest sort of shift you've had to make?
I think when you're a startup, you literally, I remember you're thinking like a month in advance or 2 months in advance. It's so short.
You were doing well very early then.
It's such short-term thinking. Like you've got immediate problems. You don't really know where it's going. You haven't got product market fit. You're struggling every month. You're pivoting. You're moving. Once you're past that phase, and we've got product market fit in the B2B pro sport phase. So then it's like, okay, so how do you create that repeatable engine? What are the processes, systems, people that you need to implement to make that grow? Then you got to think longer term. So that's the real switch, right? We've gone from thinking 2 months ahead to now we're thinking 2 years ahead and having real clarity on the direction and then holding the company to that. So you've got to clear on the vision of where you're going rather than scrabbling around, that clarity on the direction, because everybody needs that as well. But it doesn't come overnight. So we've gone from thinking 1 month, 2 months, then we had to, we know 6 months, now we've gone 2 years. But what you don't want to do is plan too long and then it just crumble after a month or two or change quite quickly. So that, I think now we know we're almost in a scale up phase because we have consistency in that. We know where we're going. We can understand how we can scale that particular vertical. So we have that, but we're also thinking about how do we get ready for the next ones.
In terms of the sort of the roadmap and how far down the line you can look, just thinking about it, and it came up on a different podcast I was listening to you on, I was sitting there thinking about pro sports. Pro sports in the UK is smallish, but in America, I mean, there's 100,000 people who go and watch university kids playing football.
Yep.
Like we can't even quantify unless you've been there. You can't quantify how big that market is. Is there a place that in your mindset that you guys have to become a US based company rather than, because UK is just a geography thing? Realistically, maybe more than opportunity.
Well, I mean, already like 80% of our revenue comes from the US market already. Yeah. And the college market is the biggest market for us. So,
is it?
Yeah. I mean, they have the biggest spending power. They dwarf pro sports really in terms of quantity.
Really?
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Interesting.
I think sometimes people don't appreciate over here how big the college market is. Like if we sell to the entire Premier League, we'll make a few £100,000, but we can sell to one college and make half of that.
Yeah,
so it makes sense to then go to the US market. So it's just that is definitely the direction of the company, is US focused in terms of pro and college sport, even the DTC consumer. There's been some thinking about, do we do a Delaware flip? But we're not doing it yet. We don't necessarily need to. I'm open-minded on it. I think if we were younger and we didn't have family, we'd probably just uproot and go.
You'd have been gone by now.
Yeah, I think also just for funding as well. It's like, at the moment, the funding environment in the UK is really difficult. Like almost people, like, I can't find a VC that makes any sense in the UK. High net worth individuals are quite difficult to come by. Most of our funding has come internationally. Our VC that backs us out of Portugal, got a lot more US investors. Everything opens up in the US. Like one of the founders that I mentor a bit, he's flown over to New York to spend time in Sam Altman's founder house. He's now gone to San Fran. And I'm like, absolutely go. If you're young enough and you're an entrepreneur in this country, I struggle to see why you'd stay here. Like, why not go to the US market? Because everything opens up for you, funding, opportunities, the size of it all makes sense. So it's really sad to say that, but if you can't get it here, then that's where it is. Then you have to go.
You mentioned there about mentoring other people. As a guy who's got twins, and you're going from startup to scale up, and you're in one of the most probably toughest spaces in one of the most illustrious and desired verticals in pro sports. How the hell do you find the time to help and coach and support other people, which I think is a credit to you, by the way?
Well, I'm a really bad mentor, though.
Fine, sure.
Reason,
just let me sit out. I do it very badly.
Yeah, exactly that. So you can struggle to get hold of me sometimes because I'm so busy, and that is a real problem now for me. Like time is just, I don't have any of it.
Yeah,
and it's because of the kids thing. Do you have kids?
I have kids. I have two, but I didn't have them at the same time. So
how old are your kids?
They are 9 and 5.
Okay. So you know exactly what it's like. Was it yesterday? So the only way I get to the gym is I go at 5 in the morning, right? That's the only way I get to the gym. So I go to the gym 5, get back, and then you get the kids ready. And then on a Tuesday, I take them to nursery and drop them off. And they're 3-year-olds, the 2 3-year-old boys, right? Drop them off and get back. And then I come into the city because it's a day in the office. By the time I get to the office, it's 10 o'clock, right? So I've been up since 5. So I've done 5 hours. And I'm pretty tired at that point. Yeah, pretty tired. But then I was back-to-back meetings from 10 till 6, right? And then I went home and then did more work. And it's like there is no time at all, and it's really challenging, right? I wouldn't advise any founder to have like young children and be a founder because it's brutal. That's brutal, and there's no balance. Right, you can't. If anyone goes, they found work-life balance when they've got young children and a founding company, I do not believe
they're lying.
Right? Yeah, absolutely,
they're lying to sell you a coaching program.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, should maybe do a coaching program. Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. Yeah, wouldn't know what I put in it though. That you can't have it. You can't have balance, right? It just does not happen. You've just got to. I think you've got to put up with the pain, right? Because otherwise, what's going to give, right? I can either not get up at 5 and not go to the gym, so my health suffers. I can not be there for the kids and they suffer. Or I can not be there for Hytro and the business suffers. Well, I'm not going to do any of that. So I'm just going to try and do it all as best I can. I haven't got a way of doing this. I remember when the boys were like, before they were, in the first couple of years, I was getting 2-3 hours of sleep a night.
Oh, it's savage, isn't it?
Yeah,
the early days are savage.
Absolutely. And when you got 2 of them, because if there was one, maybe my wife could get up, but now there's 2 of them, we're both having to get up and sort it all out. It was so hard. That almost broke me the first 2 years. It's slightly easier now that they're 3 coming on 4. but it's still really difficult. Like you want to be there present as a father. You want to be there for your children. I will not compromise on that. Like when I'm at home, so I do 3 days at home. When they come home from nursery, I'll make sure I spend time with them until they go to bed, and I book that in my diary. But then I work late because of them.
Yeah.
And then I'm up early, so it's like you don't get enough sleep. But I'd love to know if you've got a way, solution for this.
I was hoping you had it.
If anyone has a solution, I'd love to know, but I don't know what it is. And as
there isn't a solution.
No, there isn't. Yeah,
there is only 24 hours in the day.
Yeah,
that is it.
Exactly. And I think what also comes with fatherhood, and interesting you find as well, is it's that purpose and fulfillment again, and it changes. It fundamentally changes you as a person.
Yeah.
And I care so little about things I cared about before.
Yeah.
I like, it's love like you never believe, like the way you love your children. You think, oh, I don't care if I say it.
We'll bleep this out. I know what you're saying. Don't verbalise it and put yourself and me in hot water, but we know, we know, and everyone watching, we all know.
Yeah. So it's an
unbelievable type of love.
Yes, exactly. It is. Yeah. It's, and also what you think about, what I'm building at Hytro will be for them, in terms of like the rewards for it, will be for them in the future. We're not doing Hytro for the money, but that will be a side part of it, because you want to give your kids the best you can, right? And it's also one of the things that I love about Hytro is they'll be able to see their father when they're a bit older doing something that has a real purpose, has meaning, has something of value to society. We've got down the line, we'll have the medical aspect of Hytro as well. And Warren and I talk a lot about helping people. We want to help a lot of people. One of the reasons I try and find time, even as badly, for the mentorship stuff, is I want to help other founders. It's a really, really hard journey being a founder. And so if somebody, I've been through a lot in the 6 years, I know I can help them. So I want to do that. And that's kind of what I want my kids to see, right? I think just for me, that there is no balance. It's just, you just gotta get through it.
The biggest shift, I remember, because we'd started a company when we had our first son. And he was poorly in hospital for the first week, and we were running a company. So he was born on the Tuesday and I was back at work on the Thursday. Okay. So I'd go to do the day job, which at that point in time, we ran a big property management company.
Okay.
So I'd go run that all day. I'd do viewings of rooms and blah, blah. We had, 20 odd properties we looked after. We had 100 odd tenants. And then I'd go back to the hospital at night. And I'd just sit there, and then I'd go home, I'd get in the car and I'd just cry. And I would just cry for the whole journey home, going to bed, I'd have a little cry in bed, then I'd wake up 3 or 4 hours later and I'd do the whole thing again. I remember someone saying to me, this won't get easier, it will just get different. And I was like, that's actually really good advice. I think the whole balance thing, if you chase balance, it's like trying to clutch fog. You're never going to get there, and you're going to expedite burning yourself out. I think the thing you have to be aware of is blend. There's no balance, there is blend. Sometimes the blend is 80% work, 20% family. Sometimes, at the weekends, maybe you can get it to 50-50. But there's the blend with your sons. There's a blend with your business partners. There's a blend with your wife, partner. Like that also needs to be taken into account as well. But I think just understanding, or having this sort of the foresight to be mindful of the blend rather than chasing the balance, is the only thing I think might help, but probably still doesn't 90% of the time.
For you, when you were crying, what was the emotion behind that? Obviously, I'm guessing it wasn't really sadness. What was it?
Fear. It was fear.
Really?
Yeah, because my son at the time, he wasn't very, very poorly. I mean, we were very sadly, we was in the special care baby unit. I mean, that is a place to realise the fragility of life. But also, it's the first time. It's the first time I'd never changed a nappy before. The first time I do it is through the walls of an incubator. Okay. And even now, 9 years later, I can still physically, I can see myself there. I can feel it. I think as a dad, there's like right, I've got to try and be strong for my wife. I've got to try and be strong because I believe in the universe and you manifest the reality that you want. So I'm thinking positive things. But it was just a fear of like, how are we going to get out of this? I'm not religious, but I mean, there's a couple of nights I was like, if this comes good, whatever that is up there, if this comes good, I promise I'll be a better human being. I might not strictly stuck to that all the time, but I think, it was a fear of like, how do we do this? How do we raise kids? How do you then do it at the same time? I think, and then there's also with the young kids thing, sometimes you'll just cry, you don't even know why you're crying. Yeah. Because you're just so tired. Yeah. You'll just have a good cry. I think that's okay as well.
Yeah, that's true. It's good to like talk about that as well. So,
it's cathartic.
Yeah, it is. I remember that. So we had not a not dissimilar experience. So when we had the boys, they were really small when they were born, and so they had jaundice, and we were in hospital for the first week. So we stayed, and I stayed there as well for the first week. So we didn't leave the hospital room for the first week, and we had to feed them every 2 hours, like consistently for all that time. So you never got any sleep, and in between feeding them, I was working all the time. So I never stopped, because of like that stage of Hytro, you could not, you could not stop at all. And he's like, I remember like the only break you'd get would be in the shower, like I have a little shower, and I remember just kind of like, this is unbearable. It's really, really tough. And there are moments there when I remember changing the first nappy, and it's really hot in that room because they keep it really warm.
It's got to be,
yeah. And when you I don't know if it's the same experience for you. My wife had already had a cesarean because it's twins as well. So I had to change the nappy, and the baby's screaming because when you take all the clothes off, they're really good, get a little bit cold. And I've never felt pressure like it ever before. Like I've got to put the nappy in. I've never done it before. Like, do I do this right? Am I doing it? Like, nurse, can you help me? And it's like you realizing like we're taking care of this like tiny human. And then you go back to like typing an email. It's like you realize like what's really important here. And I think just fatherhood changes you completely as a person. It's really hard to explain, because I thought for a lot of part of my life that may or may not have children. I got like married quite late. I was 38, had kids when I was 40. And I thought maybe I wouldn't have children. I was always like, actually, I have a quite good life without kids, and you can have a great life without children. And like, so I remember Jimmy Carr, he comes up with some fantastic lines, and he goes, I think he said that before kids, it was like it was like a cheat code for life, because it was so easy, right? And it makes true. Like, looking back now, when you got children, you go, how easy was life without it?
But you don't realize it at the time.
No, and like now it's like it's brutally hard. But would I not want to have kids? No, I'd love the boys to bits, and I would never change that. And the same way with Hytro,
you wouldn't change that either.
Exactly, yeah. Brutally hard. Like some days you go, oh my god, and like maybe need a cry.
Yeah,
but it's like I would not do it. It's fantastic. And it's parenthood and running startups, there's a lot of similarities.
It is a challenge, isn't it?
Because also that point that you made as well about it's just different. So with kids, obviously the development is so fast all the time. Once you think, we're in a nice groove now, it changes. And that's exactly the same with a startup. So
sleep regression again at 3? What? How did that happen?
Exactly.
Like you go to bed at 7, you sleep for 12 hours now. Don't mug me off. That's my work time.
Exactly.
You're so right.
Yeah. And it's the parallels are crazy, right? So yeah, it's just every time you think you're there or you're getting there, it changes.
Same
you've got to adapt.
Same with business.
Exactly.
Like a good friend of mine we were talking about before, a guy who I've got a lot of time for, runs a quite big organisation, James Sinclair, good friend of mine, and he always says that businesses are like kids. And I think that when you're starting something, when you're the founder of something and you have kids at the same time, you're basically raising two, well, in your case, you're raising 3, because you've got the twins and you've got the business. Much like with a child, your company's now 6-7 years old. You're not going to leave it for a week. No. So you wouldn't leave the kids for a week.
Yeah,
so you've got to actually.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes just it doesn't make it easier, but sometimes cognitively understanding that, or maybe even just going, I know this is really this is really tough right now. This is really hard, but I've chosen this. I chose this hard because this hard at least leaves me with legacy that the boys can be proud of, rather than the hard of going and doing something that you absolutely hate and coming home drained and being half the man that you could be because you're not actually living a life on purpose. Might not help anybody, but if maybe someone hears that at the right time and goes, yeah, sure, thanks.
Well, I do find that like non-founders find this quite difficult to understand often, because I can see my wife doesn't really get it. She's like, you left this job in the city where you weren't working that hard, and my last gig I wasn't really working that hard, but I'd earning quite a good
9 to 5. You were well rich.
And
you were home for dinner. Why are you doing this other thing?
Exactly. I can tell she doesn't get it. And it is, and I tried to explain to her also again, like what founder life is. It's very much like parent. I make that comparison to her, and she doesn't get it even more at that point. It's like, why would you do this to yourself? And why don't you just go and have an easy life? But it's that purpose and meaning, and also, people talk about legacy. I don't care about legacy. I care about kind of what the boys see and how they grow up, and I think having
is legacy of a sort.
Is it?
But I don't
know if it's. I don't care about it being me though. So I don't know, when people go legacy, like how do you want to be remembered? It's actually more about how are they as human beings as they grow up. It's not necessarily how they remember me.
So lessons, not legacy.
Maybe that's the right thing. And I think I've taught the boys, like, they have 2 non-negotiables. There's going to be more along the way, but 2 non-negotiables tomorrow, and they're 3, right? And the first one is looking after family, and the second one is working hard, right? And they 3 years old. Now, the 2 non-negotiables. I'm going to add to that. My wife hates those. Well, not the first one, the second one. But I do think, like, you have to get anything in life, you have to work really hard, and 100%. I want them to see that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I necessarily want them to found a business because I know what it goes through, you go through. But I think it's something that they can see and hopefully take some inspiration from.
Yeah, I think they will be. I think they're maybe at the stage where they're a bit too young to articulate what they're learning. My one just started a website. He's 9 years old. He started drawing his own version of like Pokemon cards, and you can send him in a message about what you want the Pokemon card to be, and he like brands it up. He done this at a half term. Right? So this was like a misty teary sort of eye moment, because all those like moments where you have that dad guilt of like, I've got to run, I've got to drop him off as fast as I can, I've got to get him into school as early as I can, I've got to get back as quick, I've got to be sometimes you're the last one that turns up, and they're stood there with a sad little puppy dog eyes at the gate. Not very often, by the way, because the other dads are like, where are you? You're running late, I'll pick him up for you. But he was like, I'm going to write this, I'm going to do this website. He said, I've decided I'm going to do a bundle offer. So you can either buy one card for one
you're
price.
9
years old, I swear to God. He might be the next Elon Musk, but hopefully a bit less Elon Musk-esque. But
surely you're going, my kid's a genius.
This is brilliant. But he came up with it all himself. But he's just vicariously watching. My wife runs her own company as well, and she works from home. So he's just watching this stuff. He's like, I'm going to do a bundle price because I think I'll get more sales, because not everyone can afford the top card, which is £2. So some of them will have to go for the cheaper card. I'm like, that's genius. He said, he said, what's one of them things that flashes up? And I was like, what, a pop-up? He said, yeah, I'm going to get a pop-up so then I can send them emails about new cards that are coming out. And I'm like, for me is legacy or lessons.
Can he come and work for Hytro?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Got a job for
You're a fractional CMO. Yeah. But it's absolutely brilliant. So those things, amazing. In those moments where you're like, am I doing the dad thing well? Am I doing the entrepreneur thing well? They will be learning stuff that they can't quite articulate yet. But when they do, it will be amazing.
Yeah.
Because they learn more from watching what happens than hearing what they should be doing.
How proud must you be?
Oh, it's just brilliant.
It's incredible.
Brilliant. I mean, he taps me up for cash all the time. He's like, bedtime. This is the other thing now. He goes, and my little one who's 5 does it as well now. I'm like, right, come on, it's bedtime. He goes, he looks at me and goes, can we negotiate? I'm like, absolutely not. It's bedtime. I was like, okay, fine. But it is those little lessons. So
that is fantastic.
Yeah, in those moments where you're like, am I doing the juggle thing right? The twins will show it eventually.
So how do you find the demands on dads at the moment? Because I think there's a little bit. You're not really allowed to talk about it in some ways, right? But
no.
the demand on dads is like pretty intense, especially when you run your own business. How do you find that?
Yeah, I think especially for me, if you're a fit, healthy, white male, you should really complain very little about what the cards that life has dealt you. Yeah. Which I understand why that is, but it is just difficult. The thing that I've come to the realization of is that you've got to try and find a way that works for you to find your own concept of peace within the storm. And if I'd have heard me say that 2 years ago, I'd be like, what are you talking about? But I had to let a bunch of people go, had to make a bunch of people redundant. It's the worst thing that I had to do in my sort of professional career. And from that understanding, I got really clear what it was that I actually wanted to spend my time doing. And I realized that I was being a bit of like a headless chicken. I was running around doing this, that, and the other. So I sort of built a bit of a framework around like, I need to do this for me every day to be the best version possible. I think that's the number one thing that dads, founding dads, or anyone who's founding something could find for themselves, is find that bit for you. It's the 5 a.m. gym for you. It's the same for me. Get up early. Okay. The Miracle Morning book and the Savers Protocol and Wim Hof breathing and
you do all that every morning?
I do all of that stuff, and meditation through the Waking Up Act from Dan Harris, all that stuff, which to me 2 years ago was like airy fairy, but I was also really burnt out, really angry, really horrible to be around. And from finding that sense of stillness, I think that's the only thing that you can chase, and then find someone that you can share it with. I'm very lucky that I've got some amazing friends who I can have really honest conversation with. I've got no qualms with 90% of my friends. I could phone them up in tears and go, I'm really struggling. Can you help? And they would jump to my my aid.
Did you realise you were burnt out and you were horrible to be around? Or like, what made you suddenly go, okay,
the
I need to
clues were there.
Right.
No one else wanted to be around me. I was like, what's going on here? The clues were definitely
Sit in the
there.
pub on your own.
Yeah. Like, hang on a second. Why does nobody want to be my friend? Want to go to the gym? No. Want to play paddle? No. When no one's played paddle with you,
true,
you know that you're a problem.
Yeah.
You're the problem in your friendship group. No, it was, again, a realisation of that moment of having to let a bunch of people go.
Yeah.
It wasn't a big team. We were 13 and we had to get rid of 12 out of the 13, and me and one other person had to try and revive the company, which we did, and sort of brought it back to where it's at now. But it's just got really clear on, I felt just miserable. And I'd been so busy, I wouldn't allow myself to realise why I was miserable.
Yeah.
I just put it down to being stressed out, being burnt out, I'm always angry all the time because I'm so busy. But I was actually like, no, you're just not happy doing what you're doing. But that takes a bit of time to work that stuff out.
It does, but it's a really difficult one because you've got to make sure how you feel doesn't leak into the business as well.
100%, yeah.
Or when your family, you almost got to I remember was it yesterday? Like we had a difficult morning with the kids, as I talked about, and I dropped them off, and there'd been a lot of shouting, a lot of anger from the kids because they didn't sleep well. I got out the door and I was like, deep breath, got to turn, got to flick it on for work now and then go in. But it's hard not to carry that emotional baggage into then work, and then how it interact with your team is really important. So it is a daily struggle.
It is.
I haven't started trying meditation and things yet. It's one of those things I probably should do, but then it's like, how much time do I want to spend on that as well?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
because you can't really go into meditate. I've got 7 minutes. I'm going to meditate the shit out of this 7 minutes. Let's go.
Yeah,
was it not working?
Yeah, absolutely.
But what's the other analogy? When the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Okay,
like those things will come to you when it's the right time.
Yeah.
You seem like you're doing all right anyway. I won't beat yourself up too much about it at the moment.
Getting through.
Let's pause there because I think this part of the conversation is actually going to hit people quite hard. What Raj is describing is the reality that a lot of people, especially ambitious people, live with day in, day out, but they rarely say it out loud because it's a little bit scary. You might be in a situation where you've got a business to build, you've got children to raise, you want to stay healthy, you want to be present at home, you want to perform at work, you want to be your best, you're trying to keep everything moving forwards. And here's the honest truth, there is no perfect balance, and chasing that is a fool's errand. There's just reality, there's just circumstance, there's just doing the best that you can with the time, energy, and the capacity that you have available. I think that really matters because a lot of modern advice is built around the idea that if you could just find the right morning routine or the right productivity hack or the right app or the right system, everything's going to click into place. But that's just not reality for a lot of people because sometimes life is just hard. Sometimes the season that you're in is demanding. Sometimes there are too many things that matter all at once. And in those moments, the answer isn't perfection. The answer is honesty, it's awareness, it's prioritization. Raj is basically saying, I can't do everything perfectly, but I know what matters. I know I want to show up for my kids. I know that I need to keep myself functioning. I know the business needs me. So I'm going to do the best that I can with what I have. And that's a really mature mindset to have. It's a hard mindset to adopt as well sometimes. Because when you stop chasing some fancy version of the perfect balance, you can start making better decisions inside your actual life. You can say, this is the season that I'm in. These are the constraints that I have. These are the non-negotiables that I live by. This is where I need to be better. And this is simply what I have to accept for now. Understanding that is not a weakness, it's self-awareness. And self-awareness is a massive part of leadership. Don't judge yourself against an idealized version of a life that ignores your current realities. Look at your circumstances. Be honest about what they currently demand from you. And then just build the best possible version of you and your life and your work from there. Now, let's get back to it. Talking of getting through, what's next for Hytro? What's next in the next? Obviously, now you're looking from 1 to 2 months to 2 years down the line, but looking in the short term, what are you most excited about with the Hytro journey?
Oh, it's all exciting at the moment, but what am I most excited about? I think what we're starting to build for the consumer down the line, with that interaction with data, and we can show clearer proof points of Hytro on the individual basis, will be really powerful for us as a company, because we can see it in the pro sports environment, but actually for an individual showing, oh, Hytro does this for me, and us being able to show that will be so powerful. And that is incredibly exciting. That's part of the next evolution of the company as well, going from simple hardware to something a bit bigger than that, and how we interact with your wearable device. So I think that's probably the most exciting thing for me. But this like, for me, just scaling a business is incredibly fun. Like, all the challenges I get all the time is the enjoyable part of it. Like, as much as I hate, going like, I have to solve all these problems. I also love solving the problems.
Yeah.
So we got.
That's why your wife doesn't understand it, because you sound like a madman if you haven't been a founder.
But most founders are like,
yeah, of course they are. Yeah. They have
like,
to be.
But also, it's like I don't know. It's like if you actually knew what being a founder was like, the rational choice is not to be a founder, right? Do you agree with
100%.
that?
Yeah. Definitely. I would have listened at school when they told me I'd have gone and got that corporate job that you sacked off. I'd have been the one taking that job off you.
Yeah, because I was speaking to someone else recently who is thinking of leaving their corporate job, who's a partner at a big kind of like big four firm, and they're thinking of leaving for founder life. And I was thinking, right, you realise that you'll have no money for a year, right? You'll have no life. You work 24/7.
Yeah,
incredible levels of stress. Do you really want this? You've got a cushy life, multiple six-figure salary here. Do you want this? Why do you want it? And it has to be some sort of deep intrinsic motivation. It cannot be, I just want to make a pile of money.
Yeah,
because that's not going to sustain it. Right? You're gonna bail. You're gonna bail. You've got to really want it. And one of the things that Warren and I talk about a lot is that we don't ever want to sell Hytro. And the reason why, so we'll have moments where we create kind of value to our shareholders and ourselves as well, so kind of like secondaries and so on, but we don't want to sell. And the reason why, because there's never going to be a better job. There's never going to be a better job than doing what we're doing. We don't want to go through like the pain of the last 7 years as well. Hytro is ours. It's an incredible intersection of sport, science, space. We'll get with this medical to go. It'll never be, what else are you going to do that does this? Like 2 years ago, thanks to Cam Norrie, the British tennis player, and his team, so Vasek as well, me and Rich, our CMO, we're in the coach's box at Wimbledon Centre Court watching Cam Norrie in the quarterfinals of Wimbledon. Right? You can't buy those tickets. It's an incredible opportunity. And then we're seeing our product go up in a space rocket. We're working with that's one of the biggest wearable companies in the world. We've got other companies that are coming to us at the moment that I can't talk about just yet that want to work with us. There's limitless scalability of where we could go. We could easily become a $1 billion company because of there's so many avenues we can go down. Got this cool kind of like data kind of play that we're thinking about as well. What else would I want to do? Like the challenge is always there. The only reason I leave Hytro is maybe I'm not the right person to take it forward. That would probably be the only reason to leave. But so far, I've managed to hang on to that learning curve, so I've been all right. But it is a phenomenal company to lead.
And long may it continue. What's the just a final question then for you? Because you mentioned about sort of you being the CEO. What's the biggest shift that you need to make in the next 24 months to lead this company as it shifts and changes and evolves, as does the leadership need to as well? What's the biggest shift for you?
I don't think it's rocket science.
Oh, I see what he's done here. He's just dropping that in as much, but we get it. You work with NASA and SpaceX. All right, you're pals with Elon. Fine.
You brought it up and stuff. I think it is actually the classic thing. It's not. It's being less in the business and kind of working about outside the business. So, because if you get into the weeds as a CEO, you're not really where the value is, right? You need to take that strategic lens, understand where you're going, and shape it, and have other people in it working in the business rather than on the business. So that's the shift for me, less in the detail, less in the everyday operations. Thankfully, so I've got a brilliant COO, Mike, and I've got a brilliant CFO, Sanjana. So I can put a lot of effort and emphasis onto them, and I need to empower the team to do that. The challenge always is if you empower people and then do they perform or not? And then you've got to manage that performance, and then hopefully they perform and then you trust them more and you can leave more to them. So I can then step away and do more things like this, do more things like investor conversations. If we're working towards our Series A, you've got to build the relationships now. I can do more strategic things with other companies and see where the market's going, where we need to shift. It just has to be less in the detail for me personally, and more about visioning and kind of aligning the company.
Is that a comfortable thing for you to do, to step away from the minutiae of the details and go bigger picture?
I much prefer going towards a bigger picture, but I've got to trust the team to look at the details.
Fine.
So why Mike and Sandra are really good for me because they love the detail. So I'm like, great. Great. And also I trust them. Yeah. So it's like, great, you guys just go into it, tell me what you need, tell me what you're finding, and then we can make a decision on this. So I'm very happy about that. So the more I do, have to less of the, I don't know, less work. I don't view it that way. The better, really. And I get to do more of the fun stuff, hopefully.
Amazing. Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. It's gone in ebbs and flows in directions, the emotions of dad life and startup life and scale-up life that I didn't expect it to. I think what you guys are building is unbelievable. I know the tagline is built to outperform. It definitely seems that every member that I've sort of like done a bit of digging on and everything that you're doing, you guys are a living, breathing version of that mission statement. And it's more than a strapline, a tagline. It's definitely, from what I can see, how you're building this business moving forward. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And I hope loads of people at home have taken massive lessons as well.
I appreciate that, James. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, mate.